Well, it's Monday morning. I'm prepping for paint. As you can see, we're back inside the booth. I pushed it back in this morning after welding. Had some things to weld back in. The battery holder here on the back. It had come off, rusted off, I guess. Someone had bent it up really weird. Anyway, I have it back in now. Welded in place. Almost forgot it. What else have I done? There were some other spots that showed up because of the sandblasting. So I ended up putting some weld on that to make it solid again, filling in the holes, kind of like a rosette weld. Yeah, that's about it. So I also went over everything with 80 grit, just everything I could reach. The 80 grit is giving it a little bit more of a tooth than the sandblasting, so it doesn't hurt. So then the epoxy will adhere to it really well. My next step is to go over the whole thing with denatured alcohol. I don't know if it's denatured alcohol. I don't know what kind of alcohol I ended up buying. The label's all in French. So I think it says 90%, which is nice. The purest, the better. But I don't know if it's denatured. I've heard that some denatured alcohols will leave a residue, so maybe this being 90% alcohol, it will not leave that residue. Anyway, so I'm gonna put on some gloves and give it a good once over today. I'm not going to paint until tomorrow night. It works better with the schedule of my life. I'm gonna paint it late at night. Try to keep the fumes out of the public space. Nobody's around when it's night, so fumes won't get to them. So I'll do a once over with the denatured alcohol. I keep saying that, with the whatever alcohol I got, and then tomorrow before I actually paint, I'll go over it again just to make sure no dust has landed on it. So that's kind of where I am. Well, it's a big day. It's the day the inner body gets its first coat of primer, epoxy primer to be exact. Before I can do that, though, I have several steps I have to take care of. I have a new spray gun, so it needs to be cleaned out. It's full of grease and stuff from shipping, because they do that. So I'll have to take that apart and clean it. I'm going to go over the body one more time with alcohol to clean it off. And then I have some silicone remover that I'm going to go over the body with. Then I'm going to mix up the paint and spray it on. I intend to spray it in a particular pattern. I'm going to start with the cockpit, especially the wheel wells, the foot wells, and then do all the cockpit. Then move to either the boot or the engine compartment, and then kind of work my way from inside out. I know there's a lot of nooks and crannies and stuff, so it's probably going to be spinning around a lot on the rotisserie. That's the plan. I'm going to start with cleaning out my spray gun. Don't know if I've shown this yet. This is my spray gun. It's not the cheapest, it's not the most expensive, it's just a spray gun. Well, I won't say that I'm happy. This gun's a piece of shit. Well, I won't say that I'm happy. I'm going to start with the gun. It leaked from behind this, where the needle goes into the back of the gun. It just leaked down there, tripped all down the trigger. Piece of junk. So then let's talk about the primer. So spent a lot of money. It's to get this epoxy primer because I want the car to be sealed really well so it doesn't rust again. Read up on the primer. It says you need to thin it to spray it. Go back to the shop. Say, hey, you sold me this primer. It says to thin it, but you didn't sell me thinner. Oh, you don't need thinner. It'll be fine. Straight up out of the. When you add the reducer to it, no problem. Fine. So, load it up in the gun, do my first test sprays. It just comes out gloppy. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, this was the first shots. Just, it would like spurt out, and you can't paint a car like that. And okay, fine, what can I do? I don't have any thinner. So, got online, found some people saying acetone. No. Everybody says use what the manufacturer recommends. Number one. What does my manufacturer recommend? They're thinner. But the parts store didn't sell me. Even after I went back to check on it. So, stuck here. Spray gun full of primer. So okay, let's thin it and see what happens. So I finally got it thinned down. Did some spray patches. All right, fine. Let's test it on some metal. I'm not sure how well you can see this. There, can you see that? Focus. Yeah. You can't paint a car like that. It looks like crap. And plus, I don't even know if that's gonna work with the acetone. Still wet. So, what a waste. What a big freaking waste. So now is day 2 of the paint saga. I've been to the parts store, brought the paint with me, told them that it sucked, that it was too thick, and they said, oh no, it shouldn't be too thick. Well, it's like honey. It doesn't spray out of a gun unless you dilute it with up to 20% of acetone. They sold me some thinner that's the same product. I don't know if I trust it now. So I bought a gun. This one seems a little nicer than the last one. We'll see if it leaks. I gotta clean it up, get the oil off of it, and then I'm gonna spray a test and see if we have a workable paint. Well, primer, epoxy primer. Sorry about the fan in the background. It's kind of necessary right now. I did some test sprays. It's still orange peeled like crazy. It still kind of splatters out of the gun. It's 10 to 20%. I'm not going any more than that. I'm gonna go back to the store and get 2K. I highly not recommend this brand, or there's something effed up about it. So here's what I've been using, just so anyone else looking to do this has an idea. Very, very unimpressed with this. So we're gonna try this again. We're gonna go back old school style. We're gonna skip the epoxy primer. It was a nice to have, but not necessary. And we're going to go with this 2K sandable primer straight up. So it changes my process a bit with with self-etching primer, you can't put Bondo on top of things, but especially for the underbody, that's not necessary. There's no body work to do. It's done. It's, you know, you can't see it once the outer body's on it. So this is the way we're going. Just with this primer. I'm gonna do a couple coats of it tonight. I'm much more familiar with this. I've used it on the Sprite, so we're gonna give it a go and hope for the best. It kind of looks like a stormtrooper. Not sure why, but it does. So, the 2K primer worked exceedingly well. It's all white and shiny. Okay, it's matte, but you get the idea. Compared to the rust bucket it used to be, freaking amazing. A little bit of a dark spot in there. Didn't get good coverage. This was probably the hardest thing I've ever painted. There's just, I learned from sandblasting, there's just so many little spots that are hiding, and you can't reach the gun down into them to get them. But I think I did pretty good. I can touch up the spots I've missed or didn't cover well. A little thin through there. But it's starting to look like a car again. So I'm happy with that. If you like this video, click the like button below. If you want to come along on the ride as we complete this project, click the subscribe button. If you want to make sure Google reminds you every time there's a new video, click the alarm bell. Your support is very much appreciated.